Hi everyone, this is Daniel here, and today I'm doing this new project analysis. Today's topic will be talking about ELTA. The main reason why I'm doing this today is because a lot of my clients in the recent new launch environment, right, where there's a lot of new launch happening, actually we've seen property prices, whether is it older or newer, prices are just continuing to climb. And in fact, certain areas we are seeing resale or older condos whereby the prices are really so close to the newer ones already. So that makes a lot of us wonder, hey, with property prices all so high now, how do we really analyze and pick something that is safer for us? So later on, when I delve into the analysis for ELTA, I'll be comparing with very good comparisons around the areas, namely Clementi, because that one is only about approximately 4 years difference. Okay, so using this, we'll be able to determine what are the layouts and the pricing that we will consider safer for ELTA. Okay, so for ELTA is the final residential plot in the Clementi town center area. Our preview is the 7th February, and this one thing to take note is that this one is a post-harmonization project. So on paper, the sizes, they are supposed to be smaller, and thereby if we are using a same PSF calculation, hey, there might be some pricing opportunities that we can take advantage of. Of course, ELTA being in the Clementi area is in the RCR, the rest of central region. So your PSF, for example, we've seen recently places like Ori done $2,700 PSF all the way to $3,000 PSF already, and that is just one way to look at benchmarking in terms of the entire RCR. Right, so the question is, with the success of Ori doing so well, how would the developers be pricing ELTA, and how do we make sure we are not overpaying here? Quick information. So the main developers for ELTA, MCL and CSE, they are not new people around the industry, right? They are all very renowned. They got extensive portfolio, especially with MCL being the lead developer here. They've just recently done the Nava Grove, which also performed quite well. Now, total number of units, 500 thereabouts. I think the rest of the information here is quite straightforward. The location-wise will be right here. If you're familiar with this area, we have two condos just beside us, one on the left, another on the right, which is Clementi on the left and Clement Canopy on the right. Why I'm showing this is because you straight away, right, on the right hand side and on the left hand side, you can see that there's a lot of actually education, a lot of schools and all that people can really take advantage of when they are renting, right? When people want to rent, especially like the teachers or even students, they will be looking at all these areas here. And then in terms of transport, yes, we may not be very close to an MRT, but taking a bus or even the shuttle bus to Clementi, you will be very well connected to various other interchanges. Location also very straightforward. Now just to show some quick aerial views, because essentially you will have two facings. One is towards the Clementi Avenue 1, which is towards this Nanhua High lah. And then the other side will be facing towards the AYE Expressway view. Okay, so just to show you level 30, what the view might potentially look like. So I think it's quite a pity actually, if you look towards the AYE view, right, actually the view could potentially be quite nice, because if you see beyond, that's actually the Pandan Reservoir. So there's a certain trade-off. There's going to be noise for sure. Developers they're trying to help to mitigate this by giving like those acoustic blinds, acoustic ceilings, and even thicker double glazed windows or even triple glazed. I'm not very sure about that. We'll double check that. And they are trying to mitigate that, but we cannot deny that the view really will be quite amazing towards the AYE. We're not sure. One thing to take note here, right, is that for the AYE facing, they are placing a lot of the more premium units. For example, the 2+ study. You even have the bigger 4-bedders, the 5-bedders, all are facing towards the AYE one. So what does that say about what the developers think? Maybe they think that these facing really do deserve to command a higher premium, which I'll see more about that. Right, just to show a little bit better what the view potentially might look like. Right, we've got to admit that it really looks not bad. It's just that trade-off is the noise. The other one, the school facing, also potentially not bad. Right, you from the high view, it's quite unblocked. I think you need to go at least 7 to 8 floor to clear the school. Anything beyond that, you should be having a reasonable unblocked view towards the school. Alright, unit mix. Straight off, you can see that the 1-bedder plus study is only about 36 units. So that's a very, very small, less than 10%, which I think is a good move by the developer, because nowadays one bed plus study, they're moving a little slower, and I think it's a combination of two things. One is the competition, that means the supply, and then also for our one bed plus studies nowadays, the newer ones, right? Because as land price and everything go up, the pricing starts to become a little bit steep already lah. So when it comes to one bed, one plus study, who are the ones buying this? Usually they are investors. So investors, they only look at two things. One is the entry price, and then also the potential rental that you can get to calculate the yield now, right? So if the quantum is high, then definitely the potential yield will suffer, you see. So if they can get something better option out there, lower price but similar rental, then that might make more sense for these sort of investors lah. So in a way, when you're talking about units that is purely investment one, when your buyers are potentially more towards the investors, then pricing will become very sensitive. The same logic would also quite apply to your two bedders, the 2 bed 1 baths, right? And even the 2 bed 2 bath also potentially. Okay, and we can see that the 2 bedders make a main bulk of the entire developments unit mix, up to 35% actually. So that's quite a significant portion lah. Or should I say the number of units for 2 bedders is more than the other unit types. Okay, 3 bedder, 3 plus study, quite a decent number, and then 4 bedder you also have quite a decent number of each unit type. And then finally 5 bedder, 35 units only. So I would say quite a healthy mix lah. Okay, so now I'm going to be talking about pricing patterns, and the reason why I want to share about this, why we must analyze this, is because nowadays when we want to go and do booking for new projects, usually what's the situation like? Everybody's rushing to the show flat. The number of people trying to get a unit is usually oversubscribed by 2 to 3 times. That means there's a lot of FOMO, there's a lot of high emotions involved. So I don't want you or my clients to be in a situation whereby you go down there but you're not even really prepared about what pricing to expect, what kind of pricing for each unit type, especially when you're considering multiple options. Then there's a lot of variables at play and it becomes very confusing and very stressful. So this is something that I want to ideally help you to avoid this, to help you really prepare such that you can have a rough idea what prices for each unit type, and when you are at the booking day, you can make a decision without having to be overstressed. So how do we analyze the pricing patterns? I will just use, since MCL is the main developer leading the project, right? So we will use the latest project, Nava Grove. And the reason why is it so? Because they are the most recent example whereby the pricing benchmarks, everything is all still very relevant. I will explain more. So we will look at a few examples. One is the 1 bed plus study. First of all, since they have another developer which is CSC, we will also reference Twin View, and the reason for that is because it's a high rise as well, all the way up to 35 floors. So just for a quick reference, how they do it is they take about a 0.7% per floor jump, which equates to, in this situation, roughly around $5,000 per floor level. Of course, some units, if you see, maybe they buy at a later date, then the price is different already. But when they release it, the price difference per level is about $5,000. And another thing that we want to pay attention to is where are they adding the price premium. So price premium will sometimes developers like to do it such that at certain floor levels, right, they will add a certain price premium onto that level. For Twin View, we can see that they only did it one time actually, which is on the 16th floor. They did a 2% jump. Okay, but once again, this CSC is not the main developer, right? We also have to refer to Nava Grove. Now, Nava Grove, they don't have 1 bedder, so we are looking at 2 bedders minimum. The per floor jump here, right, is 8.5 thousand, which is equivalent to around 0.5%. Okay, and let's take a look at where they are adding their premiums. The first premium is on the 8th floor, right? And then after that, okay, on the 8th floor, they added a premium of 1%. But this 1% is basically equivalent to 2 times of the normal jump. And then on the 12th floor, they are adding a 1.5%. 1.5% is equals to 3 times of the normal jump. And then on the 18th floor, they're doing it again, This is at 2.5%, which is equivalent to 5 times the normal jump. And another thing to take note, right, is after each floor premium loading, they actually keep the price same for the next level. So that was a 2 beta pricing pattern. Now we take a look also at the 3 beta just to confirm whether does this apply throughout. And we can see that it is also the same. One thing I want to highlight here is that this 0.4% per jump, per floor jump, right, it's not referring to, for example, on the second floor we jump 10,500, and then the next floor jump we also use 0.4% based on the previous price. Okay, because if that's the case, every floor jump will start to become higher and higher, and it won't be just 10.5k, 10.5k, 10.5k. Okay, so that's something that you have to really pay attention to. So in this case, you will find that for 0.4%, 10,005, in terms of percentage wise, it is slightly lower than the 2 beta. Okay, but the method, right, actually is still very similar, because on the 8th floor, times 2, right? From 0.4 becomes 0.8%. Then on the 12th floor, it times 3. And then on the 18th floor, when you add again, it is actually times 5 of the original 0.4. And once again, they also do this thing whereby they keep the price same after the jump. So this is something that you can see, after you realize, after you analyze, after you observe this pattern, this is something that you can also apply to project the potential price. Okay, so now I'll be talking about the 1+ study analysis. 1+ study floor plan, if you look at it straight away, you can see that it is a pretty normal, pretty standard kind of layout. The kitchen is kind of like an open kitchenette kind of layout. The study tucked away over here, not bad. And then everything is where it's supposed to, it's quite normal lah. Okay, one thing about this is that it is facing towards the school. Okay, so you're not facing the AYE for this one. Okay, so for us to do this price projection, I think first of all we need to have a rough gauge of what's the starting PSF that we want to use, right? So how I derive this 2,250 is, I think first and foremost for this Nava Grove, the average PSF should be roughly around 24 to 2450. I think they do not want to overprice this, because there's a lot of competition in the market. In fact, when ELTA is launching, there's going to be several other developments that will be competing. For example, you got one in Tampines, you have one in Lentor also, and then actually Tampines there's 2. There's also an EC to compete with. Okay, so with all of that in mind, plus the fact that even around ELTA, there's 2 other condos, and Clementi is very near in terms of the age as well. So with all of these factors in mind, I think that for ELTA, they will not want to overprice, and if you are looking at the average of around this price range, starting from 22 to 2250, I think will be quite a conservative PSF estimate. Okay, so if I apply what I mentioned just now regarding how we do the per floor jump, which is a 0.5%, and then 8th floor, 12th floor, and 18th floor, okay, we will see that we can start from around 1.14 million all the way to 1.358 million. So that's a price variance of around $200,000. Now, how do we compare? So like I mentioned, since we have a Clementi that is so close in terms of the age, right, we definitely need to use Clementi as a benchmark, and we need to compare very closely already, because it's two really reasonably new properties that people, when they come and buy in the resale market in the future, they definitely will compare. So why I say 4 years older is because how I calculate this is when ELTA TOP, let's say in 2028, by then Clementi will be roughly around this age, around 4 years older than ELTA. Now if you look at the recent transactions in Clementi for one bed plus study, you see even the higher floors are already, they are actually doing 1.09 mil for 30th floor. Okay, so for using my projections, right, if I were to compare this 12th floor example, for example, 1.18 mil, and then here there's a 12th floor, 1.025. So now the question is, Next time when, okay, let's say right now actually, if there's a budget of 1.2 million, which one would you rather go for? You want to go for the so-called brand new almost 1.2 mil, or you want to go for the slightly older but 1.025 million? The difference is almost $160,000. So frankly, I mean, if you were to ask me, I would rather go for the older one in this case, because the price difference, I mean, will I really get something much better, or significantly better, or even better rental? If I were to compare these two, I would say probably no. So what am I really paying for this extra 100,000+? I cannot justify it. Okay, and if you compare all the way to the 30th floor example, right, you can buy 1.09 million, just top up another around $65,000, and you can get up to a super high floor one. Whereas 1.09 mil for ELTA, what can we get? We can't even get the 4th floor, for example. So if I were to do this comparison like this, right, I mean, just based on the recent transacted in Clementi, then that would make ELTA look, it does not look very attractive. Okay. Now, of course, moving forward, this is not to say that Clementi will continue selling at this kind of prices. Maybe they will try to sell for higher, seeing that ELTA is going to be launching soon already. So there may come a time where, hey, you cannot get this kind of prices anymore for Clementi. Then maybe ELTA will be a not bad comparison. We need to look a little deeper into the rental analysis, just to drive in the point about what I was comparing for you. So does high floor and low floor really matter in terms of getting a higher rent? As you can see from here, 4th floor, 13th floor, 27th floor, they are all going at roughly the same rental. And I think that this is very logical, because to me as a tenant, if I was renting, right, price is the most important. Price is very important to me, especially when it's just really just either for myself or me and another person only, right? So do I really want to pay a lot more different? Do I really want to pay a lot more rent? Let's say another $300 or $200 extra, just so that I can enjoy a nicer view? Not really lah. For me, I wouldn't really want to do that. So that, especially plus the fact that if for 1+ study, usually people buy, they want to rent it out. So you're gonna have competition also. You're gonna have competition that you're dealing with. So the only advantage that you might want to have for a higher floor is that, assuming you're asking for the same price as the lower floors one, then perhaps you can rent out faster. But other than that, in terms of the yield, no. So what is my strategy for ELTA 1+ study? I think in general, I would say maybe this is not one of the better choices in today's market, okay, because of the pricing being a little bit on the high side. And when it comes to investment units like 1 plus study, definitely price is very, very important. Price is very sensitive. If you really must buy, please don't go beyond 1.2 million for this. If not, it will be quite difficult to exit with a good profits in the future. That's what I feel. Of course, okay. This goes without saying, to maximize your ROE, get as low floor as possible, because lower floor generally means your price will be lower. Definitely hold longer than the other unit types, and also definitely you can consider Clementi as well if the pricing makes more sense. In fact, because Clementi, many of them they bought so cheap last time, right? 800 plus, 900. They sell a little bit cheaper to you, they can let go and you can you can go and buy something else already. So maybe you can even get something there. 2-bed, 1 bath, right? These are same size, 614. One is facing towards the school and the other is facing towards your AYE, right? So I'll use the same exact methodology, don't need to go through so detailed already. And you can see that this 2-bed, 1 bath, the range for the AYE facing, I'm just using a starting from a 2,170, because to me AYE should be cheaper a little bit, right? And then our school facing will be starting slightly higher, 2,250. They will even out each other lah. Now, AYE facing, my projection is about 1.33 million all the way to about close to 1.6. Okay, so that's a decent variance of, let's say, around 200+ thousand. And then the 2-bed, 1 bath school facing, we're looking at 1.38 all the way to 1.6 plus. Okay. Now, we do the competitor analysis with Clementi again. Of course, the size will be slightly different, right? Because Clementi is a pre-harmonization whereby the calculated size will be bigger, but the actual usable space is actually similar in this case. So 19th floor Clermont already did 1.34 million. If I were to compare to my estimated 19th floor, right, it's about 1.44 to 1.48 million. So difference here is roughly around 140,000. So top up 140,000, go for something brand new. Is it okay or not? I would say it's not too bad, because I mean, we use a general rule of thumb, $50 per square feet, and then if it's talking about 4 years, 200 PSF, right? So 200 PSF, you times, let's say 6, 7, 8. So like this, easily you will have 100 and maybe 140,000, 130 to 140,000 difference. So you see, it kind of actually makes sense. So what this means, right, is just a rough gauge of judging whether this ELTA for something brand new, you're paying 140,000 more, is it fair or not? So in this case, I would say yes, not bad, quite fair. If we are able to get something cheaper, like they give us, I mean, if developers are more reasonable with the pricing, right, they're more friendlier, right, then yes, ELTA potentially, you can consider. Otherwise, in general, I'll just consider this as fair. It's fair pricing. Now onwards to 2-bedroom premium, whereby you have 2 baths. Okay, same thing, you will have one facing the AYE, another facing inwards to the school. So layout, any big difference? Actually not really, because it's quite the standard. You have your kitchen tucked away, and then you've got your 2 rooms, one on each side. It's quite a basic kind of a layout. Now once again, we do our comparison with Clermont 2-bedders. Take note over here, majority of these are on the higher side, higher floor levels, and they're all easily calling for 1.6 plus million. And then even the 16th floor, which was very early 2024, is 1.6 million. So you can see that this 2-bed premium is doing not bad, quite a number of transactions as well. Now if I were to compare against my projections, so the ones on the right is Clermont, Now my 6th floor projection is 1.5 to 1.6, and Clermont already done more than 1.6. So in this instance, if you really can get a unit 2-bed premium at this sort of projected prices that are done, then wow, actually the difference is quite attractive. Potentially you're getting something brand new that is even cheaper than something 4 years older. Let's take a look at the 16th floor, 1.668 million, and then here 16th floor is only about 1.61 to 1.67. Even if it's the same price, I would say, hey, you're getting something brand new, then that one will be very, very good, very competitive, right? So once again, this is just my projected price range. Even if I projected it wrongly, right, I don't think it could be such a big difference whereby I'm projecting 200,000 more expensive, for example. So I think that just based off like this, 2-bed premium really, if you're looking at 2-bed investments, 2-bed premium can consider. Of course, when we're looking at 2-bedder, we also need to understand what is the rentability analysis, right? So I'm just showing you here. First, we must compare 2-bed 1 bath versus 2-bed 2 bath. Okay, so we are using Clermont again, and this time we are using a very fair example where like both are facing the same direction. Okay, one is 18th floor, another is 12th floor. So about 6 floors difference, and you can see the pricing. This is 4,001, this is 4,006 for the 2-bedder. So difference about $500 now. And if you were to really compare the pricing, like on the bottom here, right? See, if our 2-bed 1 bath costs 1.4 million, 4,001 rental, it is 3.5%. Whereas the 2-bed 1 bath, 2-bed 2 bath, 2-bed 2 bath is 4,006, but the purchase price 1.6 million. So the rental yield is actually very close. It's very close. So in terms of renting wise, there's actually no difference between the two. But of course, I will say that in terms of selling in the future, the 2-bed 2 bath will, this is based on my experience, I feel that in general, it's faster to sell the 2-bed 2 bath But of course, if you are priced really well, then the 2 bed 1 bath also definitely you will see profits also. It's just that the question is how long will it take lah. So if you are renting it out while you are selling, then I guess that's not really a problem. If you are staying there while trying to sell, then potentially you might be incurring unnecessary costs while waiting. Like for example, your interest costs on the loan, so on and so forth. So all of this will eat into your potential profits, you see. Okay, so that's one thing you have to take note. And also, since this Clementi is a high-rise development, you have your 4th floor all the way to 39. It's also worth analyzing low versus high. Does it really make a difference in terms of the rentability and all that, right? So we look at rental first. Using Clementi again as an example, 4th floor versus 18th floor, same price. Okay, and I think it just further proves the point that I was saying earlier, whereby tenants really don't really care about how high floor it is, because to me, as a tenant, I'm paying for this. As long as it's something, I'd rather go for something cheaper lah, basically. Okay, and if I were to use ELTA example based on the same amount of rent, if I use a 10th floor example at 1.4 mil and then versus a 30 plus floor 1.6 mil, the rental yield can differ by this amount. So straight off the bat, definitely if you're looking for pure investment, as low as possible will be better for you. Since Clementi have road facing, as an expressway facing versus inside facing, now does it really make a difference in terms of the rental? For here you can see, actually not really also. And I think one thing is because for tenants when they are renting, yeah, the expressway noise will definitely be a factor, of course. Okay, but maybe to them, yeah, I'm just staying here for the short term, maybe it could be as short as 6 months, right? Or even maybe 6 months, 1 year, and then I'm out of here. I don't have to deal with this. It's not my property, ma. But if you are a person buying something that is facing AYE, that is something that you really need to consider very seriously before you commit to this. Because when you are selling in the future, this will be definitely something that people will try to fight against you to bring down your price. And not only that, because the demand for it is in general lesser, so definitely it will also take more time to sell. But with all of that said, we look at facts. Clementi example again, 35 floor versus 2nd floor. Can you see the profit actually is quite similar? But if you really want to be nitty-gritty, then the high floor makes slightly less. Okay, so just a quick calculation to understand, hey, if you're doing investment, should you go for lower or higher floor? Assuming both make same amount of profits, because your outlay for the lower floor will be also lesser, therefore your return on equity will definitely also be more than the so-called higher floor. So in a way you can say, so what if we have very nice views and all that, but it does not really translate into profits. Because if I'm an investor, all I care about really is the profitability of this investment. Or in bad times, right, this could make a difference also in terms of like for example, this one could be way lower and then this one still have a significant edge over it. So 53 and 61%, this person hold for actually around about 4 years now, right? So in effect it's about 12% for the lower floor, maybe around 10 to 12%, quite decent. And now the 2 plus study. So seriously, I don't understand why they must make this one so big, because 807 square feet for a post-harmonization means it's probably, if it's pre-harmonization, the equivalent will be roughly around here, like easily 850. 850 is really big. And this one is facing the AYE. So this one's so big, and then I mean, 2 plus study easily will be the best. Usually it is the best type of 2-bedder, right? Because it even has a study. So the best one, they make until so big and then it still face the AYE. So I'm really not sure what is their game plan here lah. But I have seen the show flat. If you go and take a look, right, it's quite a spacious 2 plus study. Definitely more spacious than many of the other 2 plus study units out there. Okay, if you step into the show flat, you will be able to feel the difference in the size one. But that being said, right, I'm not too sure at 807 square feet, the quantum, how acceptable is it in the market? Let's take a look. Using my same method, per floor jump 8,005, and then the same thing over here. We are looking at about 1.75 all the way to around 2.1 million already. It's a bit much for 2 plus study. But of course, there are some other developments. 2 plus study, RCR already hit 2.25 right? And then even the recent ones like the Ori also have easily got 2 million plus and all that. So I wouldn't say this is very crazy in terms of the RCR comparison. Okay, compare with Clevon. So Clevon's 2-bed plus study pre-harmonization 764. ELTA post-harmonization 807. Means this is super big already. Definitely it's much bigger than Clevon in terms of usable space. And Clevon one lose also in terms of the, see this portion here probably is where they will suggest you to put your study area lah. But for Clevon, like what most normal 2 plus study, they have the study here, right? So in terms of layout, yes, ELTA will be better. But price, how about the price? Recent transactions for this Clevon example, right? 764 square feet, 27 floor and 9 floor and 36 floor. We're looking at easily above 1.6 lah, about 1.65 thereabouts. 9 floor is 1.57. So if you have to compare, right? This one is 1.57, and then for the 27 floor, we are looking at around 1.66, and then for the higher floor one is 1.65, even lesser. So like that, how can buy meh? Very difficult lah. Unless developers become very friendly and they can let us have a better price lah in terms of the PSF. Maybe if they start from 2.1, that will be even more fantastic. And then maybe at the bottom part they try to get some of the profits back, right? Because higher floor, I think it's very possible actually. They can go even up to 2.6 plus or even 2.7 at the super high floors with the Pandan Reservoir. Okay, but the point of this comparison is still what? At the 9th floor range, right? My estimator for ELTA is 1.8 So the difference easily got 200k. Okay, if I were to use that benchmarking I mentioned just now, whereby you add $50 per square feet for every year, 200, then you 200 times 764, that'll be another 150 thereabouts, right? 150,000 thereabouts. Okay, so in this case, it's not even 150, it's about $200,000 difference already. So does that justify or not? I think quite hard It's quite hard. So for that reason, the price, the quantum wise, doesn't really make sense. Okay, so with so many different types of 2-bedder out there, we need to have a strategy on how we can prioritize our options. So in the comparisons you already seen, most of the units here in the 2-bedders or even 1-bedder, most of them are more expensive or will be at a fair value compared to Clevon. However, it's only the 2-bed 2-bath whereby you are able to get something cheaper than what's already transacted in Clevon. So I've done a lot of research and analysis to go and find this kind of opportunities. That means whereby you can get something newer that's very close to the older ones. Hey, what does that mean for you? That will help you to keep your risk much lower and also help you to maximize your profit potential in the future. If you want to know more about this, you can contact me separately. And with that, right, you can see that with the 2-bed 2-bath, many options are actually under 1.6. In fact, if it's below 1.65, very, very safe because Clevon already did easily 1.66. But of course, adding on to that, another $100,000 is considered of good and fair value for 2-bed 2-bath. So that will be my top choice. And if, let's say, budget wise you're not looking until 1.7 million for example, then that's where you can consider having a second alternative option, which is your 2-bed 1-bath. I will consider all the way up to roughly around 1.45 to 1.5 million thereabouts. And once again, it's because we have compared it to our Clevon competition and we don't want to be too expensive compared to what's already transacting, what has been transacting now. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 bedrooms now. 3 bedrooms also very interesting. We only got 2 different types, C1, C2. This is 926 square feet versus 1023 square feet. So good thing is they are all facing inwards towards the school, so no AYA facing. Okay, for C1, right, you enter the entrance here, you got a kitchen over here, living, dining, quite standard, and then you got your bath 2 over here with a window, and everything is quite not bad. It's quite good, right? It's a nice compact 3-bedder. Now if to compare to our slightly bigger counterpart, it's a 3 plus study lah basically. Okay, it's a 3-bed premium which comes with a study. So actually this layout is fantastic one, but I don't understand why. No lah, it's really because of the way they did the configuration of the development. That's why inevitably this one has to be sacrificed lah, but no choice. And I would say it's reasonably common nowadays anyway, and getting more and more common. So that's a potential downside that we have to deal with lah. But it's okay. At the end of the day, it just comes down to the price comparison as well. Now for the 3-bedder compact projection, starting from 2002, we are seeing a 2.03 million all the way to 2.5 million. So that's a variance, quite a big variance actually, easily 400 plus 500,000. Comparison against our dear Clementi. So 36th floor already did. Oh, very nice number, 2222. Okay, and then our 9th floor, 14th floor is actually below 2.1. Okay, so of course one thing is when you're talking about resale, there's always this kind of variance here. Understandably, you're gonna have people trying to outdo each other in terms of the price moving forward. Like for example, this is 222, right? Maybe the next one that is 34, they will try to go above this 2.221. That is all. You never know lah, I would say. So how does this affect us based on the projections that we have done? So I compare the 36th floor here against this one, which is 2.46 million, and then 14th floor you're comparing to 2.15 million. Now once again we do the same benchmarking, right? If we add roughly around $200 PSF for the 14th floor, something reasonable, something fair to pay. If we add on to the 2.07, now we add on another 185,000. Something fair is 2.25. If we look at the 14th floor, projected is actually 2.15, so I would say this is reasonably okay. Then for the 36th floor, we add another 185,000. Fair value will be 2.4 million, and over here actually is slightly on the high side lah. Okay, so based on the projections here, we can see that perhaps the lower floor ranges will be considered more towards fair value, and still very comparable to Clementi. Next is our premium, which is with the study, right? Also facing towards the school. Once again, we're starting from a $2,200, and we will be looking at 2.25 million all the way to 2.7 million. Once again, the price variance here will be quite significant, easily about 400 plus thousand. Clementi, 3-bed premium transactions recently, 26-27 floor, we are looking at close to 2.5 million already. Okay, but for the sake of the comparison, I'm just going to use this 2.4 thereabouts, and let's see how does it fare, right? Again, if I were to use that $50 per square feet, I will need to add around 200,000 to get the fair value based on the 2.39 million example lah, which is this one, right? The 27th floor. Okay, and that will give us a fair value of around 2.6 million. So if I were to look at my benchmarking over here, I mean my projected price, right? Actually for 26-27 floor is up to about 2.5 million only. So we're kind of, I would call it the projected price, right? If the developers really do give us kind of prices, it's a little bit better than fair value. It's quite competitively priced. The only issue I have is, right, if you are talking about this kind of price range, 2.5, 2.6, even up to 2.7, then the question is, why don't you consider a 4-bedder instead? Of course, we need to look at the rental analysis as well, and you'll find that quite interesting. The 3 premium versus the 3, right? Actually, the rental also don't differ that much. 6,003, 6,000, 6,005. Okay, then my normal 3-bedder is about 6,000 thereabouts. So not a very big difference also. Let's look at the yield to really compare. So I did the calculations. Basically, you're looking at a range of about 2.8 to 3.4% for the normal tree, and then about quite similar also for the premium. And you also notice that if I compare to like the 2-beders, yeah, the yield will look lesser already, not so attractive already, right? But that's a part and parcel of it lah. And if I were to really break it down back again based on the down payment, right? Of course, not inclusive of interest costs, property tax, all this. Based on the down payment, assuming 7% loan, it's about quite similar. Of course, when we are looking at 3-beders, we always have to analyze our potential buyer pool in the future. And usually, who are the ones who want to buy 3-beders? Typically are the BTO upgraders. So I'm just going to use a very recent example from Clementi Ridges. 4-room BTO. Last time they would have bought roughly around 600,000 thereabouts. Actually, this is max. This is roughly the max price. Okay. And if they were to sell roughly around 1.1, essentially they will be cashing out roughly around 500 plus. And of course, this is assuming there's a certain amount of savings that they have accumulated across when they're waiting for the BTO to be built, and then also staying the MOP period. Total easily got around 9-10 years before they sell. So 10 years, save 300k, it's not too bad lah, quite achievable. So now the question is, this 800,000, assuming this is used for the down payment for the next property purchase, what can it afford? Assuming 75% loan, you can go up to 2.7 million. Okay, and of course the required income for this, you need a minimum roughly around 20k lah. They're not saying that everybody is able to or will want to pay you 2.7 million for whatever you bought, but just showing a rough analysis based on the people around there, what is the affordability like? Okay, of course, ideally if you can call for higher than this, that would be fantastic lah. And of course, this is only a 4-room BTO example. You can even, those 5-room BTOs will be even more. So between the two, which would be my preferred choice? Okay, so between these two layouts, which would be my preferred choice, or what should my strategy be? Unfortunately, over here right at the top, I'm showing you Clavon's 3-bedroom premium. And where I circled here, you can see that actually the second bathroom has a window. But for my ELTA, it does not. So I think that actually, even though it may not seem like a very big thing, okay, but when people come and buy and they compare, especially when the age is not that far apart, this could make a difference between their choices, especially if you're calling for a price that is much more expensive than your neighbor that has a slightly better layout, right? So definitely, once again, if you're looking for potentially, you're buying like for example the 3-bedder compact, and you plan to rent it out, definitely go for as low as possible as what I've shown you through the calculations. But of course, also you need to be very careful, because if you're getting anything above a certain price, for example 2.6 million thereabouts, then you are really too close to the 4-bedder option, and it really might be better for you to just simply go for the switch. And with all things considered, right, I definitely think that if you're going for something below this, it will be a lot more safer. If it has to be above that, I would rather you to consider the 4-bedder options already. Okay, now for the 4-bedder options. 4-bedroom also got quite a number of different type of layouts. So starting with these two first. This is the most compact one, D1. It's the most compact one. And then we have your D2, which is technically like a more premium version. What are the differences? For your premium, right, you have this junior master and the junior master bath. So the room is bigger, right? This is 9. On the left is only 8.1. And then you have an additional junior master, an additional bath. And then also, technically, because of the way the rooms are being arranged, right, you can see that the corridor here is longer. So there's going to be more space that's unusable space that's being put here. Other than that, you're looking at the wet kitchen here. The kitchen area and the shelter here that is much bigger than on your compact. Okay, so very funnily also, this compact, right, they are doing it facing the AYE, right? They are facing AYE, and then for the premium, they're facing inwards towards the school. So maybe they could use this chance to really give this 4-bedder compact, right, very, very competitive pricing. And that's what I hope for. Now, using the same methodology to project the price, okay, we're looking at roughly around 2.6 million here, and the high floor will be probably close to 3.2. So this is the reason why I said that, hey, if you can go 2.6, 2.7, why not go for the 4-bedder instead already? And for the premium, which is quite a bit larger, right, in terms of the size, you're looking at easily 2.8 all the way to 3.4 million. Comparison time. Now, this is a comparison for the 4-bedder premium, because Clementi don't really have a 4-bedder compact that I can use for example. So we just look at this straight away. For Clementi, 12th floor already done, 2.65 million. If I were to use something similar, my projected price actually is already 2.9 million, about $300,000 difference, quite a fair bit fair bit extra to pay. And are there any differences in the layout? Pretty much only this. So the Clementi one does not have this junior master plus junior master bath, so it has less one. That means it has less one toilet basically. So just for this difference, right, you want to pay an additional close to 300,000. I'm not too sure about that But of course, once again, we can also use that benchmark, right? Once again, $50 PSF times 4, 200, and then you 200 times 1313. Then you can say, hey, maybe quite comparable But I would say that when you're at this kind of quantum, right, difference of 300,000, as a resale buyer in the future, they may be really comparing this, because next time when you want to sell, this one needs to go for much higher So in that sense, I would say that when a resale buyer comes to compare these two layouts, it may not be so easy for them to pick a straight winner. 4-bedder dual key, I'm not a very big fan of this one, right? Simply because in general, when we try to resell in the future, once again, it's just similar to like when you compare to so-called facing expressway, or maybe like 2-bed 1-bath is harder to sell, the demand is slightly lesser, that kind of thing, right? But I have to admit that this one, your rental yield will be quite attractive compared to the other, for example, the 3-bedder examples. Because 3-bedders, we're looking at 2.8 to around 3% yield. But this one, you can go all the way up to 4, and you can even try to get higher than that, depending on the price, depending on the rental also that you can get. Okay, but all this is based on recent transactions in the area, and very conservative already. 9,006 is very conservative already. And here I'm also assuming the purchase price is roughly around 3 million. Okay. But if you were to really compare the price, the layout, right, actually, the 3-bedder is kind of compromised a little bit in terms of the living space, that kind of thing. And then also this one, the 1-bedder is actually a studio, not really a full 1-bedder kind anyway. So it's kind of like you have to compromise a little bit on both sides, and also resellability is affected. The only good thing is really the rental yield is really stronger and more attractive. And finally, 4-bed plus study. So this one is a fantastic layout actually. It's just that the size, 1,507 square feet, it's definitely, arguably, it's big. Okay, it's really big. But the issue is that usually when it comes to the more luxurious type of unit types, for example, your large 4-bedders and even the 5 or 6-bedders, usually we want to have something very luxurious, which is lacking here. For ELTA, we do not have this private lift. And what's so important about this, you may ask, right? So imagine if you were entering ELTA from the entrance here, like that. Okay, immediately it's like you have to walk through a tunnel here, right? It's quite a narrow space. And as you come out, imagine this view of the angled view towards the dry kitchen and halfway of the dining. As compared to our Clementi example here, our Clementi competitor. You take the private lift up, right? Very nice, grand experience. You come out of the lift here, and immediately you are greeted with this landscape view. In fact, it might even go beyond here, right? So if this is super high floor one, towards the AYE, the lander, the Pandan Reservoir view, this experience is definitely much more luxurious, much more grand compared to the ELTA one. So in terms of when people are doing the resale viewings, this experience will definitely make a difference lah. That's for sure. Now, then we compare price to see whether does it make sense at all. So Clermont 32 and 29 floor, we have already done around this kind of prices, 3.3 million. If I were to use that $50 per year projection, right? Fair value for 32 floor for ELTA will be roughly around 3.6 million. And my projection actually, yeah, just nice, 3.6 million. This is not done after the fact one. This is all really based on the methodology that I shared just now. So, but even then, right, comparing the two, assuming yes, both are 30 plus floor and all that, same price, as in 3.3 versus this 3.6 million, but this one is lacking in certain ways, you see. So I would say this one actually maybe not really worth 3.6, maybe slightly lesser than that to be more fair. Okay, but once again, when somebody comes to view and then the difference actually only 4 years, and then if you step into the development, everything's still very nice and everything, then you have to pay a difference of easily 300,000. Assuming you buy 3.6 versus 3.33 and then next time both want to resell at 300k profit, for example, the difference is easily 300k . So would a buyer want to pay this extra profit for this ELTA whereby there's certain lack in terms of the experience? I would say maybe not. In fact, in this sense, maybe now it will be a good time to find a 4+ study here. Alright, so here is my game plan for ELTA 4-beders. I think that the compact is a pretty interesting choice. In fact, because if you can get at these kind of prices, I think it's very competitive compared to because don't really have this kind of price for this kind of size in this area, you see. So they are unique in this sense. Whereas if you go to the premium, then you have something to compete with Clermont, and I would say that a safer range of price will be around this much. And then you can even consider this. For me, I don't really like the dual key option, but this is just a personal preference. Cannot deny that the rental game here is very strong. So if you are somebody who wants to maybe your own family stay in the 3-bedroom and then you rent out 1 room, that's something you can consider also. Okay, but personally, my suggestion is like that. And finally, the 5-bedroom. So this one very big, almost 1,008 square feet for a post harmonization. This is not small. Okay, so another gripe here is that you really go so big, but then you still don't want to give me my private lift. I just think that it's wasted. It's really quite wasted, because when you compare to the other 5-bedroom in this area, all of them have. And instead, what we get here, additional is the 2 junior masters with their master bath. So I guess that's okay, not bad, right? If you're, I don't know, if you want to really do multiple generations sort of a living, right? But the question is, do you really need so many Because, and then you see over here, there's also this powder room. So your helper is gonna have a fantastic time cleaning all these toilets because you have 1 here, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. Okay, so I mean, I don't really see a huge advantage compared to the other 5-bedrooms. For example, Clermont. Okay, so don't have any transactions for this one yet, but I see a lot of listings asking for around this price range. Okay, so this is the biggest question now. ELTA facing AYE. How much are they gonna price their 5-bedroom? And even if I were to give you like a 2001, it is already 3.7 already 3.7 mil. Unless developers can be very, very friendly and they give 2000 PSF, that makes it kind of a no-brainer here, right? So Clermont, definitely the usable space will be lesser, but hey, look, it has this additional thing here that will improve the overall experience, you see. Okay, and then just for the sake of another example, we use Park Clementi's 20th floors transaction, already done 3.5 million. And this one also have private lift. So one thing is, for this one, the living dining experience are super wide one, really very big. Overall, it's a really interesting layout. You look at how long it is. Okay, so once again, for this one, if we are able to get, around 3.5 mil, I mean, I'm not sure how possible is this lah, but I think 3.5 mil will be really a sweet spot for this 5 bedder at ELTA. Okay, because not to forget, right, this one is also facing the AYE. So even though yes, we're gonna have the acoustic blinds, the soundproofing treatment and all that, but I really am not too sure lah how resellable and profitable this might be in the future, on the resale market. Okay, so I hope that was insightful. The preview starts on the 7th alongside many other projects at the same time. If you need any additional information or calculations or more insights on any of the other projects, feel free to reach out to me. I'm Daniel. You can reach me at my number here. See you soon.